Hi, and welcome to the Keys to Therapy. Today's episode, we have a special guest. We have Danielle Swim here. Hi, Danielle.
Hi, thank you for having me on. This is so
Thank
cool.
you. Oh my gosh, I have to tell everybody what I was just telling you offline is that when I was building my practice and I was looking for resources and inspiration, I found your Instagram and it helped me so much to build mine, to see somebody do it. And the fact that you were so real about how you built yours and how you grew and the stuff you were going through personally, professionally, and how you made it all work. It just was so inspirational for me in building my own. So thank you for putting that.
Yeah, it's so cool to like see where you are now from where you've come from too. Yeah, it's cool how we've been connected in that way.
Yeah, so I'm so excited to like extra excited to talk to you today.
Hey,
So,
good, me too, me too.
so do you want to tell the audience a little bit about like who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so my name is Danielle Swimm. I have a private practice right here in Annapolis, Maryland, and I am known on Instagram as Entrepreneurial Therapist. That is my coaching and consulting brand that I built out. So I still do therapy, so I still see clients right here in this office, and
Right.
then I spend most of my week now doing courses for therapists. I do one-to-one coaching. And I have a higher level mastermind where I help therapists scale beyond the one-to-one. And I just love it. I love to have my feet in a few different things. I have a podcast for entrepreneurial therapists as well. And I'm just a very creative soul. And so I love to create and do interviews with people just like yourself and be able to kind of talk more to therapists who I really think have been neglected for a very long time about how we can take care of ourselves, but build businesses that really nourish us and support us so that we can make a really big impact in our community, because I know that's really what we're here to do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you're doing so many different things and you're reaching multiple populations. So you're still seeing clients and helping them, but you're also pursuing your passions based off your experiences, your creativity. You're able to kind of combine that into a business venture, which is amazing.
Yeah, it keeps me energized. I'm very I'm like sensitive and kind of high maintenance. If I'm not doing something I love, I get very
Oh,
frustrated. And I think a lot of creatives, even like yourself, can relate to that.
yeah.
And so if you put me in a box where I'm doing the same thing over and over again, it just feels very draining. So I like to spice it up. And there's lots of opportunities for therapists who are similar to that.
Mhm.
We have platforms like YouTube and podcasts and social media where we can really be more creative and it reaches so many more people than just the people who come into our office.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think with this field, I mean, that's like the premise of my entire channel is that there's so much that isn't taught to you in grad school
Yeah.
that it's amazing to see people not only talking about these things, but actually doing them and doing them in a way that's been sustainable now. And if anything, you've continued to grow into other aspects. So, like your podcast and different things that it's cool to see you take something that you love and then evolve it as time goes on and maybe your interests change.
Right, exactly. It's not taught in grad school, which is why it's so needed to learn after you get out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Well, everything we're going to be talking about today was definitely not taught in grad school.
Yeah.
So, before we get into those things, I'd love to know your journey into becoming a therapist. Like, what even set you on this path to begin with?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that knew since I was in high school. I remember opening like the psychology book in high school, and I didn't like school that much. I did not excel in high school at all. But I opened my psychology book and I just like wanted to highlight everything and take it home. And I found it fascinating that people were studying the human brain and human behavior. And nothing else got my attention, like only that. And then my dad had his own appraisal company, did real estate appraising. And so I would help him during the summers, and he
Hmm.
was self-employed, and my mom worked full-time for the government. And so I saw the dynamic of like how much flexibility he had and how
Yeah.
little she did. And I was like, "Oh, whatever I do, I'm going to work for myself." I kind of knew that from the beginning. And I knew I've never wavered. Like since I was 16, I'm like, I'm going to be a therapist.
Wow.
And I didn't really know exactly what that meant. You don't
Hmm.
know the field until you get in it.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did. I still love it. I still love what I get to do every day.
Yeah, I love that you knew that so early. Like you found those connections, but then also that entrepreneurial part existed even back then,
Yes, it
which is
did.
cool.
I know. I was just kind of rebellious and I hated the idea of working for someone else and just someone telling me my schedule still
Uh,
makes my skin crawl. I don't like
hmm.
it at all.
No, that's so relatable.
Yeah.
It's so So
Yeah.
relatable. Yeah, I've always felt the same way. I've always had that idea of like, well, one day I'm gonna have my own office and I'm gonna do my own thing
Uh-huh.
and work when I want to work. Because everyone's like, as you get older, you'll be a morning person. It's yet to happen. So
Yeah.
like, I need a schedule's gonna work with me on that one. So
Yeah.
yeah, but I love that you stayed true to who you were. So in grad school, did they talk to you at all about private practice, business, anything while you were in your program?
No, and I think they do that very specifically. I think there's
Okay.
lots of theories on why. I don't think there's like one person in charge who decides never to teach business in grad
Hmm.
school. Because I've heard of some schools popping up that are actually having like mini classes and trainings around this. So maybe it will start to change, but I wasn't taught anything about it. And I do think, it's a short amount of time that we're in grad school. They
Hmm.
really need to focus on the clinical. And there is a theory that they need most therapists to go into community mental health, crisis, management, higher level of care. Those places are needed. And thank God for every therapist right now who's working in that because it's so
Hmm.
needed. So that is where the focus is for most of us who are going to grad school. How can we kind of go into the system and serve it? And then there's outliers like you and I who go through it and are like, we want to do our own thing. And kind
Hmm.
of have to learn outside of school. So I did have a professor, I had a couple who were in private practice.
Oh, good.
I would ask them
Hmm.
about, how did you do this and is it worth it? Basically like what are you getting paid if you're in private practice? Like
Yeah.
what does that look like? What are your hours? And I had one professor specifically who would take off the entire month of August to travel. And I
Oh.
was like, how are you doing that? And it was private practice that they were able to
Hmm.
do it. And so that always resonated with me because I was like, I want that for
Yeah.
my career path. And I didn't learn anything while I was in grad school. But eventually, once I got out, I started to find these podcasts that were really just coming out then around
Hmm.
private practice, how to build it. And I would listen to it on my drive to my full-time job. It was an hour.
Hmm.
And I would absorb everything. And I mean, I just have an obsessive personality as it is. And so I would sit at my lunch break, I would read the blog post that I had
Hmm.
just listened to, the podcast episode about, and I would just absorb it. And it would keep me going because it's hard work, as you know, to work
Yeah.
together jobs where you're just making it and you're burned out. But I knew that there was another possibility for me. And I had to believe that before anybody else did. I mean, no one in my family had done that.
Hmm.
There was no one that's like, Danielle, you definitely can do this. I had to believe it when there was no evidence to
Yeah.
support it. And that's the hard part. And that's where I think we get stuck. But if you can do that, then there's many roadmaps out there for you to follow on how to get there.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like that's the biggest battle is
Yes.
the mindset piece of it because there's going to be a lot more people, most likely, or systems telling you you can't do it
Right.
versus that
Right.
you can. And I think you're right with a lot of school, like intentionally or not, sort of programming us and the job market that exists for like provisionally licensed or associate therapists. It's all these very like high burnout, high stakes, high acuity like type of jobs. So
Right.
they sort of need us in those spaces because people
Yeah.
who are more established, they're not going to work those. So
Right.
I think you're right. I think there's a piece of it that's definitely intentional. And I think part of it is also just it's a lot of it's old. Like a lot of the systems that are in place are just kind of old. They're
Yeah.
not really adapting, even like telehealth and like just different ways of
Yeah.
people doing things now, which has become more of the norm for our society. But I don't think that's necessarily still taught. And there's so many different tools and things. But I feel like mindset wise, a lot of grad school, from what I can remember, was very focused on the client, their mindset, where they're at, how we can help them, their moods, their emotions, their circumstances, and nothing about the therapist, at least in my
Mhm.
program.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I'm curious, like it sounds like for you, the mindset piece was something that you already kind of had, but then you found additional tools to give you like the education to back that up.
Mhm.
So why do you think that having that mindset piece so solid is important in being able to build a business?
Yeah, I mean, building a business brings up a lot of your own stuff, like,
Mhm.
and that surprised me. No one had told me that.
Yeah.
And so when I remember being at Whole Foods on my lunch break, and I was just getting my private practice up and going, and I had published my website, and I was almost in tears
Mhm.
because it was so vulnerable to like put myself on the internet and
Yeah.
like, what are people going to think? The people from middle school that I literally don't even talk to, whoever that
Hmm.
is in your life, what are they going to think about me like trying to go big or whatever the story is that I'm telling myself. And
Mm-hmm.
because it was so emotional, I was like, whoa, I got to work through this so I don't stand in my own way because I know I want to do this, but I don't want to feel like this the whole time. It
Mm-hmm.
isn't going to work for me. And so that's when I dove into podcasts really saved me about mindset of entrepreneurial people who have been very successful. Like what kind of mindset work did they need to do
Mm-hmm.
to work through imposter syndrome or like chronically burning themselves out because they're overworking or perfectionism. Because it really does. I mean, there's a personal development journey that you go through and you sign up for it when you're an entrepreneur because you're really seeing there's going to be some criticism and
Mm-hmm.
taking up space isn't normal for therapists. Like we're not taught to
Yeah.
do that. We're normally taught to play a little bit smaller, not to
Mm-hmm.
take up too much space, don't be too loud. And
Right.
so when we go against that, I think that's the mindset work that all of us have to do around it's okay if people don't like me on the internet. If I show
Mm-hmm.
up, it's okay. If I try something and it doesn't work well the first time, like this is the game of being self-employed. Um,
Yeah.
and so for me, I had to work through that stuff, which is why I continue to talk about it. Because at every level that you scale to, now
Mm-hmm.
there's more mindset stuff to work through. And the good
Absolutely.
news is I am the biggest thing holding me back. It's also the bad news.
Right.
No,
You're
like
with
I need
yourself all the
to
time.
work. Yeah, I'm the one that has to work on me
Yeah.
and how I'm actually holding myself back in all of this.
That makes sense. Yeah, because there's so many pieces of it that you just don't know almost until it's like in your face. So
Yeah.
you mentioned the
Yes.
website part. It's like, well, now you just everyone can see your price because you might have posted
Uh,
your fees on your website. So they're seeing how much you make an hour, and then there's judgment around that. Or
right.
I know when I started mine 3 years ago, I went straight private pay. And I had
Mhm.
a lot of criticism from other therapists about how
Yeah.
that was such a bad idea and I was so inaccessible and all these other things that were really like their fears being projected. But
Mm.
it made me have to be like, well, is this the right decision? And what do I want for me? Or I know a lot of times clients asking for certain things. Maybe they want you to work different hours. Maybe they want a different fee. And you have to be really solid in your business plan and how you feel
Yeah.
about it because there's going to be a lot of things that are going to test you along the way. So,
Yeah, and be tested. That's how you grow the muscle. And anyone that has anything to say about your business, it's like what part of them is being triggered by the way you run your business and
hmm
that's coming out. And what will happen in the beginning is people will have be critical and then they'll ask you how you did it.
yes.
Well, right? So that's exactly how
Yeah.
it goes. So I'm always like, anyone that's critical in the beginning, like take note of who they are. And then
hmm
sit back, mind your business, keep your head down, and then wait, because they'll come back in a couple years and they'll be like, so how exactly did you do that?
Exactly. Or now I've been thinking of it, seeing you not failing
Yeah.
it.
Once you prove that it can be done, there's a
Exactly.
different commentary that comes from that.
And that's why I'm like, pay me and I'll show you.
Yeah, exactly. Now you can do that.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and that's a whole nother mindset thing. So I think it's cool what you said about how as you scale too, now you're facing different challenges, you're in different spaces. The bigger the audience, the more that invites sometimes more criticism. There's just a lot of pieces of it. So as far as like maintaining that mindset, is there anything that you do to make sure that you're in a good headspace when it comes to your business?
Yeah, so Taylor Swift just released an album.
Hmm
And so this is like very on track, but she in the interview where she released the album, she was saying, something around not everyone is worth your energy.
Oh, I saw that clip today.
Yes, isn't this so good? And
So
it's
good.
like Taylor said it. It's true. And so I am very protective of my energy and who really has access to me. Because I
hmm
mean, technically, people have access to me on Instagram or wherever your platform may be, but not like true access. There's
Yeah.
barriers there. But like who actually has access where I might answer their text message? I'll be with them in person. And, I'm an empath. So like people pull from my energy if I'm
hmm
around them. And so, what helps protect my mindset is to be around people where I feel good after I leave them. If I
hmm
feel drained after I leave you and, it's not a working relationship, then that's really important for me to look at and be like, why am I doing that? Is that a good
Yeah.
investment of my time? So I've really sought out. I mean, I go, if you follow my stuff, like I go to at least one retreat a year where I'm there with other female entrepreneurs, and it's been in other countries where I'm like completely disconnected from my world here, where
Yeah.
I can focus on up-leveling my mindset, my business. I have a mindset coach that I work with, and it's not always the tactical, like I don't wake up at 5 a.m. and meditate. Sometimes
Mhm.
I'm up in the middle of the night with my daughter and I'm exhausted in the morning, but I will journal at some point during the day most days.
Okay.
I have like 10-minute things that I'll sprinkle in that help my mindset. And then whatever's in my ear, like whatever I'm absorbing, does impact my mindset. So I need to be sure I'm listening to things that are like nourishing my soul, that I'm around people that are doing that,
Mhm.
um, and that I just really listen to my own intuition about do I need a break or can I go harder? And just trusting that to be my guide.
That's awesome. Yeah. And a lot of that's very personal, but I like it because you've made it doable. So whether you're going all in like a retreat or it's 10 minutes this one day that you can fit it in, like you're
Right.
making the time for you, which I
Yes.
think is a big deal too, especially in a job like this. And then being a parent at that, where you're constantly you're making sure somebody else is okay.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you have to make it flexible for whatever area of life that you're in right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that mindset piece, right? So it's like scaling. So it's from here's grad school to then maybe I can own a business to then building the business, getting through all of that. How do you then scale it to that next part of running a six-figure business?
Yeah, I mean, there's many ways to do that. Like one of the, you could definitely hit six figures just being a solo private practice owner.
Hmm.
I see that time and time again, depending on what your rates are, how many clients you're seeing, etc. So you could hit six figures there. And then I'm also seeing a lot of therapists are wanting to go beyond that. So let's say you have a full caseload, maybe you're hitting six figures, maybe you're not, but you're wanting to scale beyond that. And
Hmm.
that's where a lot of therapists start to look at other revenue streams
Okay.
beyond one-to-one. So they might start a YouTube channel, or
Hmm.
they might start a podcast. They might have an online course. They might become a group practice owner or host their own retreats. But therapists are really starting to take over this space where before we were very confined into the old school model was like you become a therapist,
Hmm.
maybe you're a group practice owner, and then like the big ones would write a book and do speaking.
Right.
Okay, and now we have rolled out the post 2020 era where we can do online courses, workshops, social
Hmm.
media has taken over the game. Retreats are still booming since 2023 and continue to do so. And so there's just lots of different avenues about where you want to be creative and make an impact.
Hmm.
Holistic psychologist is one that we all follow and know. I mean, like, look at the impact that that brand has had on the
Yeah.
online space and the revenue streams they've been able to do. So it's just like if you want to hit six figures, seven figures, whatever that might be, you have so many options, which is great.
Hmm.
But we also can get overwhelmed.
Yeah.
It's like, where do I start? And then if you've launched something a few times and it hasn't worked, you start to think it's just not meant for you. But it's kind of the wild, wild west. You got to figure out
Hmm.
strategies about how you're going to grow, and you got to understand you're on your own timeline. So
Right.
my timeline, this took a long time to do. I didn't go viral overnight. I continued to have a long road ahead of me of the things I want to accomplish. And so it's just like, there's no rush. There's decades ahead of work that can be done, and you're going to go at the pace you're meant to go at.
Hmm. Yeah. And I think along with that, like the not comparing yourself to other
Yeah,
people,
it's
because that's
hard.
got to be hard. Yeah. Like you said, a lot of these people in different spaces, you're seeing how much money they say they're making or the things that they're
Ugh,
doing. And sometimes, like, it's great the transparency, but also sometimes it's not 100% accurate, or it can
yes.
feel like you're smaller than them because you're not there yet. And that can create a lot of imposter syndrome too.
Right, right. And what I've learned is, I've had the honor of like working with some people that have a really big platform and I've been their coach or behind the scenes. And the numbers don't always tell a full story. Like
Hmm.
people can talk about what their gross revenue is online, but what's the profit? Like what are they actually bringing
Yeah.
home and paying themselves? Or just because you have a huge following, it might not convert to any sales where you have a
Hmm.
much smaller following and they're bringing in great revenue. So just don't be fooled by the smoke and mirrors of what people post online. I learned that the more and more I do this.
Oh yeah, I've seen that too over the years. Like lots of people with huge platforms that kind of crash and burn because it's not built on
Yeah.
authenticity or there's
Yeah,
stuff behind the scenes that they just, of course, aren't posting.
right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot. So I think that that makes sense to kind of follow and scale based off what it is that you like, what you're interested in, what you're good at, what you're passionate about, kind of filling all of those needs that are more personal, maybe it sounds like is what you're
Yes.
saying, and then take that on the business side.
Right, exactly. Yeah, just be
Yeah.
true to you, keep your head down, like focus on the finish line and just mute any account that triggers you. Don't listen to the podcasts that trigger you and
Hmm.
just stay very authentic to you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And you mentioned the marketing piece, right? Like there's certain things that people are, I don't know, say on Instagram launching different courses, or some things are working, some things aren't. I think one of the biggest mindset issues that I've seen come up with a lot of therapists is how to market, because they know that they know what they know, right? And they know, like, I'm very skilled. I know these populations, I've been trained in these things, but like modalities or something, but not necessarily marketing. So
Yeah.
I'm curious about kind of your experience with marketing and what tools do you think have been helping you to gain access to or build the audience and keep your business sustainable.
Yeah, I mean, marketing, I think therapists are actually naturally very good at,
Hmm.
but I've had a couple that are like the most honest ones that are like, okay, Danielle, what does marketing even mean? Like,
Yeah.
I think where we get stuck is we don't understand what the term even means, which makes
Hmm.
sense. We didn't go to marketing school. We went to
Yeah.
school to be a therapist. But once you actually understand marketing and that it's just like getting people to know who you are and then wanting to send referrals your way and work with you, we're good with people. And like
Hmm.
marketing is getting people to know, like, and trust you. And therefore, that's all I really need you to do when you're marketing your practice. Um, and I think in the beginning, like let's say 5 or 6 years ago, we're all like, oh, social media might just be a fad that's going away.
Hmm.
Obviously, it's not. That's not going
Not
away.
even close.
Right. And now what's really rolled out is AI. Is like,
Yeah.
AI is the new thing that everybody is talking about. And there's a reason people are hyping it up, I think, because it can do so much and it
Hmm.
continues to be developed. And I think my worry for the mental health field is, we have the big tech conglomerates that are out there and we have insurance companies keeping referrals in-house. So these are big competitors for private practice owners and group practice owners because they have people that are doing their marketing full time. They have the
Hmm.
experts that are using AI right now to really leverage ads, SEO, social
Yeah.
media. So there's someone right now working 40 hours a week for one of these companies marketing them. And then
Hmm.
there's you and I who are
Right.
private practice, and I don't have someone doing 40 hours a week marketing for my
Mm.
practice, right? No, most people don't.
No.
And so I want to be able to teach marketing in a way where we don't need 40 hours a week for you to do it because it's just not doable, but we still can get you clients and get you there. And that's what I really like I use ChatGPT mostly for using AI to help streamline the marketing, take off like tons of hours from your week for the marketing and just help leverage you in a way that makes you more accessible to your community. And
Yeah.
I've talked about it a lot recently this year because I want therapists to know how to use it and make
Mhm.
sure that they're using it on a weekly basis to really market their practice.
Yeah, which is amazing because I think it intimidates a lot of
Yeah,
therapists.
it intimidated me. Like,
Hmm.
I'm not over here, this techie girl who
Right.
knows how to code and do all this stuff at all. I can
Hmm.
barely turn my TV on half the time. My daughter can do better at that. So,
Right.
like, I say that because, I want other people who might not feel like they're techie to
Hmm.
also lean into this. I don't care your age, I don't care your background. AI is so simple. Like
Hmm.
it is so simple. If you're able to get a master's degree, you can definitely learn how to use AI.
True.
Like there's no doubt in my mind. It's just learning about how to train it where
Hmm.
most of us get stuck is the first time I went to ChatGPT, I'm like, write a marketing plan for me. And it has no idea what I do or who I serve. So it just
Yeah.
can't do that. So if you can spend some quality time training it with the
Hmm.
correct prompts and language, you do that one time really well. Now you have it for the rest of the year,
Yeah.
for free if you want to use the free version to help you
Hmm.
map out marketing plans. It can help you create social content. It can definitely help leverage SEO for your website. And this is when we really start to build six-figure practices that are streamlined and not taking up all of your time and energy to run.
Ah, that makes sense because a lot of us don't have the time, or if we do, we don't want to spend it on that.
Right,
So,
right.
like, or again, the mindset piece of it of like these blocks of I don't know how to do this, or other people are doing it better, or they have these teams, like things that just feel just more inaccessible when, like you said, ChatGPT is free. So
Yeah.
it's just learning how to use it. So could you give an example? I know you give a lot of ways to use it, but is there any specific example you could give of like how you're using it in your business in particular?
Yeah, and I'll make sure your audience has the prompts that I wrote out so that they can literally pull it up during this video and
Oh,
input it
perfect.
into chat. Because I'm a visual person, so I always like to make sure there's guides to go with it.
Mm-hmm.
But you just want to go to chat and you just want to like block off about 30 minutes. Like make sure you're caffeinated, drink some caffeine, put on some good music. If
Mm-hmm.
you're dreading doing this, we got to make it a little bit fun. Then spend like 30 minutes, maybe an hour, training it on this is my name. This is what I do. This is the ideal clients that I work with. Here's what my practice looks like. There's even tricks of the trade where you can like copy and paste a lot of your website.
Oh.
Say, like, hey, I want you to really learn about my practice and what I do. So I'm going to send you some of my service pages. And you can
Mm,
just send it that. And it's just downloading all of this information.
that's cool.
And then you can let it know where you're struggling. So if you're saying, I have 5 private pay clients right now, I'm looking to hit 10 in the next 60 days. Can you give me some tactical ways that I can actually market it and write me a 60-day marketing plan and see what it comes up with? But
Hmm.
one of the tricks I really like, I was just saying this in one of my calls this week with therapists, is we're always talking about community marketing. We want other therapists and prescribers in the community to refer to you.
Yeah.
But we always get stuck with like who should we market with? If you
Mm-hmm.
go into chat, I specialize in eating disorders. If it were me, I'd go into chat and I'd say, who are the top 5 best prescribers for eating disorders in Annapolis, Maryland? And whoever those top 5 are, I want to make sure they know about me because they're coming
Mm-hmm.
up in chat, which means they have really good SEO, and I can
Yeah.
guarantee you they're getting a lot of clients and need
Mhm.
referrals out.
Yep.
So if I'm not coming up in chat yet, if my SEO isn't good yet, I want them to know about me. They've
Mm-hmm.
already done the work and they can refer to me. So I'm going to reach out to all 5 of them. Half of them might not answer, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to meet with like 3 of them and you're going to have good marketing with them. Build a good relationship. Just go in as if you're like building a friendship. Don't go in, you don't need to be salesy or weird.
Yeah, nobody likes
Just be
that.
yourselves. And that's how you start to build really good community marketing. Because I
Mhm.
will say, the big tech conglomerates that I talked about earlier, they can't build these relationships in the community like you can. So
Mm-mm.
we need to leverage this as private practice owners right now. And ChatGPT is one of the things that it can help you decide who to actually market with right now as well.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And
Yeah.
that's so much better than just like Googling it and getting random
Yeah.
people, random names. And now, like you said, these big tech companies, a lot of what's coming out, like the first few things are in the like the search bar, or the search results are these companies. It's gonna
Uh-huh.
be BetterHelp. It's gonna be,
Yeah.
whoever's trying to take over psychology today, right now. Like it's going to be these things because they have the money to pay for all of these ads to fill the first few searches. So,
Mhm.
and I think a lot of that is very impersonal. And that's one thing that I think you're right that these big companies or even sometimes people using AI for therapy, it's like there's going to be that personal relationship that
Yeah.
is just nothing is going to compare with that. So if you're
Mhm.
able to build that with certain prescribers, and I'm sure for you, like dietitians or some
Yeah.
different people that you'd have to like build a team of referrals with, but I feel like that would be great. And that's such a shortcut to just use that and be like, tell me the top 5 versus you sorting through which of these things is a paid ad and
Yeah.
sponsored and this and that. So, and then that'd be awesome as you build your SEO too as a therapist to come up then on their searches
Right.
potentially.
That's the point I really want to drive in is I do think in the next couple of years that will be what we're all aiming for. Because
Mm-hmm.
therapists right now are like, oh, my clients said that they found me on ChatGPT. Like, how are they finding me there?
Yeah.
And this still, even the experts are like, they have some guidance around it, but I don't feel like there's a black and white answer yet on
Mm-hmm.
exactly how this is happening. We know good SEO. helps you show up on ChatGPT. And I will say something I'm working on is we want a good FAQ section. So
Mm-hmm.
these are even more important now because if they chat can just pull from your FAQ if someone asks that exact same question, it
Oh.
helps you show up on AI. So I'm trying to build it out on more of my pages where before I would have only had one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because of AI, I want more of them to try to show up more on chat. And I think therapists should be focused on how can they show up on Chat GPT because it's just going to drive a lot of clientele your way.
Yeah, that's very true. So
Mhm.
it's not something that needs to be, I don't know, I know again, a lot of people are kind of scared of the
Yeah.
techie side, but it sounds like what you're saying is kind of what you would do in person, just like as far as building that relationship, but you're doing it with the AI. So you're saying, here's who I am, here's who I work with, here's what I do, here's what I want, and
Yes.
then letting it take all of that information on top of all the other information it has and building something that fits you instead of just some, I don't know, checklist or something that's not necessarily tailored to you.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
cool.
And yeah, and you'll see it'll come back and say like whatever, saving this data or downloading this data so that it saves it. If you've done any talks, like presentations in the community, if you can then get transcriptions of you doing those talks
Hmm.
and then upload that to chat, like just continue to train it as you do things. It can just learn who you are really well, and it's just going to make it a better marketing assistant for you.
Yeah. So then all of its recommendations will be tailor-made to you and your business.
Right, exactly.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's something that obviously it's newer, but it's something that is going to be bigger, you think, within this business for
I
sure.
think, yeah, 2026, we're going to be looking at it a lot. I think 2025, we're all getting used to it. You
Yeah.
know, like the marketing experts have been on it, like the AI experts are all over it. But I think therapists in general are now starting to get more comfortable with it. So I'm just really interested. I think it'll be cool in the next couple of years to really see how this evolves for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that what you're saying provides like a huge foundation for the therapist to be able to be like, okay, if I'm already flooding, then as things change or their goals change, they already have this like solid foundation built with the AI to be able
Yeah.
to come through and just add or as they're evolving or making adjustments. So I like that. It sounds a lot easier. It's like a time
Yeah.
saver,
And
which
I
is
will say, like, what motivated me because I'm like, oh, I have to do Instagram and my podcast, and now I need to
hmm
learn something else. It
hmm
only took about 30 minutes to really learn. But what motivated me is understanding that I am falling behind if I'm not learning it now, because it's not going
absolutely.
away next year and it's going to be more evolved.
Hmm.
So I don't want to fall behind as a business owner. Like,
Yeah.
it's a responsibility to stay cutting edge so that I know what quote unquote competition is doing over here that have the marketing experts.
Hmm.
So it's my responsibility to learn these new things and then apply it. And so if you haven't learned it yet, or if you're not utilizing it every single week in your practice yet, then you really, I would start doing it now so that come the following years, you have this base foundation for how to use it.
Yeah, that makes sense because I've noticed a lot of platforms are integrating it now.
Yeah.
Canva, Google, like all of these things are now putting like whatever their version of their AI assistant is into their
Yeah.
platform. So I think you're right. I think it's definitely not going anywhere. I think it's just going to get bigger and bigger. And I like that you said that's the motivation because it's almost like if you can't get in now and from the ground up, it's going to be
Mhm.
very hard as it evolves to then learn all of the things later
Right.
on because it's going to change. It's going to get more complicated or it's going to get more detailed, whatever the things are. Um,
Yeah. We just don't
so,
know.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, might as well get in on the ground up and help you build your business.
Yes.
So, I really like that. So, yeah, those prompts would be so helpful. I'll put those down below in the captions so people can start using it if they haven't already. I think that would be
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. It's great. It just takes about 30 minutes. It'll be a game changer and then commit to showing up and like implementing every single week. I would just put on your EHR so you can get into the habit and then
Yeah.
you'll get momentum. You'll be like, this is so helpful and it'll become a habit, but we just need to create that habit first.
And the little bit I've used it, it's also been kind of fun.
Yeah. It's a blast.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Like you think it's gonna be 30 minutes and then you're like, oh my God, we're building a relationship here.
Yes.
Tell me about this. Or it prompts you. And it's like, hey, do you
Yeah.
want me to create this and this based off of this thing you shared? Stuff that I hadn't even thought of. And I'm like,
It can be
yeah.
your own business coach, 100%.
Which is very, very cool. So yeah, I think that's great because I think it's an area that it's like you said, it's new and a lot of therapists are intimidated or they're not really sure how to use it or which one to use or how it could be beneficial. So I appreciate you
Yeah.
sharing how you've used it.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Very cool. So, well, as far as, that would be a big one for kind of all therapists, definitely for some newer ones too coming up to start learning
Yeah.
these techniques. Is there anything that you want to share? Any tips, any tricks, any stories, anything that you think would also be beneficial to some of the newer therapists that are tuning in today?
I think newer therapists are honestly going to have a leg up in a way that the previous generations didn't,
Yeah.
because they are going to be so savvy on just AI, social media, all the things that you're able to consume in grad school now. That was
Hmm.
harder even 10 years ago when I was in grad school. And so I would say definitely don't play small. Like, there's going to be your superiors who might be a little intimidated by you,
Yeah.
but I want the newer ones to really leverage your fresh ideas, your creative ideas. You're going to think differently than the older therapists might think. And like, I just welcome all of that. Like,
Hmm.
disrupt the field. I think it needs some disruption here and
Sure
there.
does.
Um, and so don't be afraid to go big from the beginning. I wish I had that advice. That you don't need all these years of experience. I think we definitely need like therapists that are a little more bold, like willing to take action, have good ethics and morals while doing so, and it can just make a really big impact for all of us.
Yeah, I love it because it's so anti what I was taught in
Yeah,
school.
me too. Me
It was very much, I graduated in 2012. It was very much like, be what the client needs you to be. So match their energy, listen
Uh-huh.
to them, tailor this to them. Everything was about the client or the agency, right? Like,
Mhm.
this is their way of doing things. This is their paperwork. This is their things, whatever. And some of it I get, but I do think it kind of takes away any individualism when we know that like the biggest indicator if therapy works or not is the relationship with the client and the therapist.
Right, right.
So and that's what keeps clients coming back. It's not the policies or the name of the place you work or like any of that type of stuff. It's you as the therapist.
Yeah.
So I love seeing some of the newer ones like starting their Instagram accounts
I
and like
know.
putting themselves out there because I feel like we were taught a lot of just like conform and be quiet and like do what you need to do and you haven't earned the ability to do any of
Right.
this other stuff yet. And that's just crazy.
Yeah, I don't think you need to earn that. Like, talk about what you're learning in grad school if you're still in grad school, or
Hmm.
talk about what you're learning in supervision if you're in supervision. Um,
Yeah.
I just think they have a lot of opportunity right now.
Oh, for sure. And they're
Mhm.
also more familiar with it. I
Yeah.
feel like they've grown up with social media. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like you were saying with your daughter and the TV, like these younger kids
Yeah.
with technology.
Oh my, and she's gonna grow up with AI,
Yeah.
It's like so cool what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how I feel about my nieces. I'm like, some of the stuff they show me, I'm like, how'd you figure out how to do that?
Oh my gosh.
So,
So tech savvy.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
think that that's true. So being able to not be scared of tech if you want to keep up, to learn how to use AI and leverage that. And then for new therapists to do all of these things and also just show up and be
Yeah.
themselves. I love,
Right.
I do wish we were taught that sooner. That'd have been nice. So,
Yeah, but now we have YouTube channels like yours.
yeah.
So
And
we can speak to that. Like,
exactly. And Instagram accounts like yours that showed me
um,
like, oh, you can balance, like you can show some of your personal life in here.
oh
And
gosh, I saw so much of mine. Yes.
yeah, but I love that though, because then it feels like you're a real person.
Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
that's what's so hard with so many things. And I think that's why people are getting burned out a lot on like coaches and programs and stuff sometimes because it
Yes.
just, you're not feeling, same thing I was saying with the therapist, right? You need to feel that authentic connection to that person to trust them, to
Yeah.
want to follow them and see what they're doing. So I think that that's important too, that authenticity. Honestly, at this stage, especially with so many things that are these big platforms and, all these companies taking over and things like that, that authenticity is a piece you really can't replicate. So
Yeah. Exactly.
I
Yep.
appreciate you practicing what you preach and showing up real online.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's like it's the only way I know how to do it. It
Hmm.
does have downfalls sometimes because people know a lot about you. But it's just how I like to connect with people like yourself and
Hmm.
anybody else online.
Yeah. And then if somebody's weird, then block them. Everybody
Yeah,
else is going to be like, oh, this is so
exactly.
great. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. You can't let the haters like, dim your light.
no, definitely not.
Hmm.
But listen to Taylor, protect your energy.
Yes, Taylor, thank you. So spot on.
Our savior.
Yeah,
But
exactly. If we're quoting Taylor Swift,
yeah,
we're good.
exactly. Yeah, I appreciate her. Good timing, girl. But yeah, thank you so much for taking the time out. You have so many things going on, so I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to this audience and talk to me and just share what you've been learning and doing. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So for everyone watching, subscribe, stay in tune with what's going on next, and follow Danielle on social media and her prompts below, and let us know how it's going. I'd love to see how it's all turning out for you. So thank you again for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.